Morning, tubers. Today starts a new day in our lives. Well, more than just a new day. I guess a whole new way of living. 9 years ago, Honey Baby decided she wanted a little dog, and she found a place that rescued dogs, and I guess they were coming from states that had kill shelters, and they had some dogs, and she said, I can get one of these dogs, but we have to go to New Jersey of all places, actually up under the armpit of New York. Might have even been New York, I don't know, but we had to go down there to that part of the country where I don't ever want to go to get this dog. And me being me, I said, okay, let's go get him. So we went down there, and that's where we met Charlie. He was in a house with, I don't know, probably 16 other dachshunds, and they was just, all, you can imagine what a house with 16 dachshunds in it is like, or maybe you can't. You ever been around a dachshund before? They got sometimes very unique personalities. First of all, dachshunds were bred to be kind of like kind of like tunnel rats over in Vietnam. Used to be in Vietnam, they had these guys, they called them tunnel rats, and usually this little guy, they'd go into the tunnels that the Viet Cong would make, and either they or the Viet Cong would come out alive, because somebody was going to die in them tunnels if there was anybody in there. I think a pretty tough fella to do that job, but there's people that did it. There's a little frog right there. I just watering the flowers. Look at this little bitty frog. Can you see him right there? He's tiny. Hey, little buddy. I splashed you out of your little spot there, didn't I? I was watering Honey Baby's flowers here. So dachshunds were bred to climb into a hole and kill a badger, and a badger is a pretty tough creature. They're little, they have very strong chest and front legs, and much like a tunnel rat, they go into a badger cave, and either the badger gets killed or the dachshund gets killed, because they don't have a reverse gear. They don't have a surrender element about them. It's going to be, their way to the death, and that's the way dachshunds are bred. That's the kind of dogs they are. I had a vet tell us early on that was the most vicious breed that had ever been, because they're literally bred to fight to the death, to kill those badgers in those caves. Well, I was part of a dachshund personality, very headstrong, very powerful, very attack motivated. Charlie was like that. He would attack any dog that came near. It didn't matter how big it was. In fact, it's almost like the bigger the dog was, the more Charlie wanted to attack it. And of course, imagine a little bitty fellow like Charlie, a miniature dachshund, going after a pit bull. Well, you and I would think, it might not be a good idea, but Charlie wouldn't think that. He'd be like, let's go get him. There's a dog, let's go get him. Let's get him. He used to bark all the time, or almost all the time. He would bark at the television. We couldn't watch a football game because Charlie would be barking at the television. If something happened, we got excited and started cheering or jumping around. Well, he'd get excited and he'd start barking. He'd get hysterical. Literally, we got to the point where if we were watching a football game, we would silently cheer. We had worked out a way to silently cheer so that Charlie wouldn't hear us, because if Charlie heard us cheering, he would lose his mind and go to barking, and so we couldn't cheer even watching television during the football game. That's the kind of personality he had. Anyway, time passed. Charlie had a good life with us. In spite of his oddities and irregularities, we fell in love with him, and I reached a point where even if nobody else didn't like him, I liked him, you know. I tried to be a good parent. I was just thinking about that this morning. I went out and got me a sandwich. I was going to bring it home and eat it because, you know, I always used to bring my sandwiches home and eat them. If Charlie wasn't with me in the car, I'd eat them so that I could give him part of my sandwich, because there wasn't going to be any food brought into the household that Charlie didn't get to be part of. If there was food had by anybody, yeah, some of it was going to be had by Charlie. That was the rules. That was the rules of the road. That was how it was going to be. So I took to getting my chili dogs without onions and without mustard, because I read those weren't good for dogs. And I took to bringing my sandwiches that I get when I'm out in the car home, make sure Charlie got some. Because, you know, everything had to be detailed for Charlie. Charlie reached a certain point where he was never really good about being housebroken, so we had potty pads in the house, and we got where we'd give him treats for using those. And then when Daisy came along, we couldn't exactly giving Charlie treats and not giving Daisy treats, so which meant Daisy got a lot of treats that she probably didn't need or may not have been good for her. Anyway, Charlie's buried right here. He died, let's see, I guess it was yesterday. And I buried him here. He's right here below the tree. Died with his eyes open, which is kind of like the way he lived his life. I buried him facing uphill toward the house here, so like he's looking up at us and making sure we do everything the way it should be done. This little lavender bush right here had all but died, and for some reason it had a little sprig of green right here on it. And other than that, as far as I can tell, it's dead. And Honey Baby dug it up, and we set it on the ground over here, and it sat there for 2 weeks, and still got that little bit of life in it. And Honey Baby said, because we started talking about having a second chance garden back here, which would be a place where we'd put things that, you know, she works on doing the garden work up at the house. And second chance garden is like, okay, if I'm going to dig something up because it's not growing good, rather than throw it away, I'll go down there and out back, we'll plant it out back somewhere. Give it a second chance to see if it's going to survive. That's what this bush is. That bush has been moved twice now. All the other bushes that got moved when it got moved died off already. So anyway, the second chance lavender bush wound up being down on Charlie's grave, and Honey Baby said maybe Charlie will make it grow. Charlie was, you know, failing like dogs will do. He got blind and he got deaf, and his teeth got bad. He got to where he couldn't chew his food as good as he used to. You know, we tried to like get him softer food, and since he was blind, I tried to, like, if I put him out, I'd keep an eye on him, make sure he didn't get lost. One night I put him out and he didn't come back, and I was out in my PJs at 3 in the morning. That's the other thing, he'd get me up every morning. It was really rare I'd get to sleep past 4:30. He had to get me up early every morning to go outside, and yeah, a lot of things like that. Anyway, Charlie's dead now, which means we don't need a potty pad in the house. It means I don't have to get my chili dogs without onions. It means I don't have to eat my food in a place where I can give him some. It means I don't have him snuggled up against me when I sit on the couch and drink my coffee in the morning, or cuddle up against me in bed at night. And you know, he was a hot little brick. He was hot. If he was in the bed with you, and he was always, boy, you would just roast under the influence of his body heat. About 2-3 weeks ago, I got up one morning and he wasn't hot. He was warm, but he wasn't hot like he'd always been. I said, honey, something's different about Charlie. Something's changed. And he didn't have that extreme body heat. Wasn't too long after that, I went somewhere. I left Charlie on the couch where he'd been sitting, and when Honey Babe came in, he was on the floor and he was just sitting there, like just sitting there, kind of laying there. That was not like Charlie. And she said, I wonder if he fell off the couch or jumped off the couch or just couldn't move or what, you know. And then gradually we started noticing that he seemed like he'd get lost. He'd get up to go somewhere and didn't seem to know where he was going. Or I noticed, you know, dachshunds are really heavy on the front of their body, and I noticed when he put his head down, it's almost like he didn't have enough weight. He'd lost a lot of weight. It's almost like he didn't have enough weight to keep his legs anchored. So he kind of got to the point where, you know, if he was eating something, his legs would kind of sprawl out and he couldn't really get a good balance. And then we noticed he'd be eating or drinking water, be squatting down with his bottom on the floor there because he wasn't strong enough to stand up and hold himself up with his hind legs. He through all of that though, I really, you know, I'd go out with him. Toward the end, I'd follow him around. He reached a point where he couldn't come up and down the ramps I built for him, so I'd pick him up. I'd bring him up the ramp or down the ramp. He reached a point where he couldn't get over the door sill at the front door, so I'd pick him up and I'd set him in the house or set him out of the house. He went from being this insanely annoying, energetic ball of fire attack dog to being old and weak and crippled and blind and deaf. When he got to where he wouldn't eat his treats, because there was a time there he wouldn't eat dog food anymore. He wouldn't eat anything that had to be chewed. We was making him eggs for breakfast and feeding him Cheerios with milk in it for supper. And sometimes he would eat. We had some soft treats that he would eat for a while, but he got to where he wouldn't eat them. We knew the day was coming when he was going to be done for. That day was yesterday. I'm going to show y'all a picture of what he looked like. I took I took a few pictures of him yesterday. Some of y'all might not want to see him. It's Charlie. He's alive. He's not dead. He might look like he's dead in the pictures, but he's not. He wasn't. I might also put up a picture when he was young. I know he used to have a little toy he would play with. We'd be watching football and he'd be throwing it, you know. So I think I'm going to finish this video off by showing you a few pictures that you don't have to look at of Charlie on his last day alive, and then I might show you a picture or a short video of Charlie when he was fresher and younger. He's 16 years old when he died, 16 and a half. So we're getting used to, well, like I just came home. Daisy's, Honey Babe's gone to town. She took Daisy with her. Charlie's not here. Brought my sandwich home, but he can't eat it now. So I just want to let y'all know, y'all have any of y'all that's watched my videos, you've seen Charlie in the videos for the last 9 years, and he's going on now. He's up there with Zachy, I guess. Some of y'all been around long enough to remember Zachy. I don't think there's much else to say. We still got Daisy. Daisy will be getting all the love now. I don't want y'all to be sad or anything, because I'm telling you this, because we're all going to die, and we know it. My day's going to come too one day, as will all of you. As many have already gone on before. I could list a lot of people that's been part of our YouTube community that are gone now. A lot of people who's lost their special pet, like, you know, Cutworm Shirley Jean, she's gone. But you know what? We come and we go, but there's new life born every day. It's gonna be okay. God knows what he's doing. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see you somewhere, maybe on the other side. You never know. I'll show you them pictures and videos now.